There was a time when the WWE Universe stood divided. Some cheered, some booed, but the most significant reactions were often the loudest. One name that had become synonymous with polarizing reactions was Roman Reigns. For years, the wrestling world watched as he stepped into arenas filled with hostility, an environment that should have been reserved for the most despised villains, not someone positioned as the face of the company. Subscribe so we can chat more. Looking at him now, it's almost surreal to recall those days. Reigns, with his dominant aura and effortless control over the crowd, now stands as one of the biggest stars in the industry. But this wasn't always the case. There was a time when the very mention of his name ignited groans and discontent. It wasn't mere dislike, it was resentment, a frustration that boiled over into the very fabric of WWE programming. But how did it reach such a boiling point? The story begins with potential. Reigns wasn't just another wrestler climbing the ranks. He was born for this business. The lineage of the Anoa'i family ran through his veins, a heritage that was etched in the annals of wrestling history. Fans initially embraced him as part of the Shield, a trio that took WWE by storm with their raw energy and unfiltered aggression. They were different. They weren't the cookie-cutter superstars fans had been force-fed for years. They had an edge, a rebellious nature, and for a while, Roman Reigns fit right in. He didn't have to speak much. His actions were loud enough, but the moment the Shield disbanded, the cracks started forming. Suddenly, Reigns was no longer the silent powerhouse of the group. He was positioned as the next big thing, WWE's golden boy, and that shift didn't sit well with many. It felt forced. Unlike Daniel Bryan, who had clawed his way up and earned every bit of fan admiration, Reigns was given opportunity after opportunity on a silver platter, or at least that's how it looked. Fans have always detested the idea of being told who to cheer for, and when WWE's marketing machine went into overdrive, pushing Reigns as the next face of the company, it backfired spectacularly. The crowd's rejection wasn't just evident, it became a spectacle in itself. The infamous 2015 Royal Rumble was the breaking point. It was supposed to be his moment, the night he solidified himself as a main event player. Instead, it turned into a debacle. Philadelphia, a city known for its passionate and ruthless wrestling fans, tore him apart the second he eliminated fan favorite Daniel Bryan. What should have been a star-making performance turned into an embarrassment, and even the legendary Rock, who came down to endorse him, couldn't salvage the night. The boos echoed through the arena, deafening and relentless. The writing was on the wall. From that moment, the resistance to Roman Reigns became an ongoing war. Every main event he was placed in felt manufactured. Every promo he cut sounded like it had been crafted by a team of writers who didn't understand what the audience truly wanted. He wasn't bad in the ring. In fact, his matches were often hard-hitting and well-paced, but the issue wasn't his ability, it was perception. Fans saw him as a corporate product, a hand-picked successor to John Cena's polarizing legacy, and they wanted no part of it. The boos weren't just noise, they were a movement. WWE tried everything to course correct. They had him fight against underdogs like AJ Styles and Kevin Owens, hoping that working with beloved stars would transfer some goodwill onto him. It didn't work. They paired him with legends like The Undertaker, expecting a torch-passing moment to resonate with the audience. Instead, fans rejected the idea, not because they disliked the match, but because they resented the notion that he was the chosen one. Year after year, WrestleMania main events became battlegrounds for the ongoing struggle between WWE's vision and the audience's desires. The infamous WrestleMania 34 encounter with Brock Lesnar was the pinnacle of this divide. WWE had spent months building it as Reigns' moment of triumph, but the fans in attendance revolted. They hijacked the match, chanting for anything but the two men in the ring. It wasn't that people wanted Lesnar to win. It was that they refused to accept Reigns in the position he was given. When he lost, the response wasn't disappointment, it was relief. At this point, it was clear that no amount of persistence was going to work. The more WWE pushed Reigns, the more fans pushed back. They wanted authenticity, they wanted struggle, they wanted to choose their own heroes. Reigns, in their eyes, was being forced down their throats, and that alone was enough to ensure that no matter how talented he was, he wouldn't be accepted. The irony was that deep down, most fans knew Reigns had potential. His in-ring work spoke for itself, and those who paid attention could see glimpses of the star he could become. He was intense, athletic, and carried himself like a legitimate force, but he was trapped in a narrative that never felt natural. WWE had scripted his every word, controlled his every move, and in doing so stripped away the very essence of what could have made him great. Then, everything changed. Life has a way of rewriting even the most stubborn of scripts. When Reigns announced his battle with leukemia in 2018, the world saw him differently. In that moment, the boos stopped. The animosity vanished. He was no longer a corporate puppet. He was a man, vulnerable and human. It wasn't about wrestling anymore. It was about real life. And suddenly, all those years of resentment seemed insignificant. When he returned, the energy had shifted. The rejection that once defined his career had softened. But it wasn't until 2020 that the true transformation happened. Roman Reigns, the company's chosen hero, became the villain. He turned his back on everything WWE had previously tried to mold him into and embraced something organic. The moment he aligned himself with Paul Heyman and reinvented himself as the tribal chief, everything clicked. He wasn't delivering scripted lines anymore. He was speaking with conviction. He wasn't being pushed to the top. He was taking it. The fans who once despised him suddenly couldn't get enough. The very thing that made them reject him, his dominance, was now what made him captivating. It was never about his ability. It was about authenticity. And finally, he had found it. Roman Reigns has reached a level where every step he takes, every word he utters, and every match he competes in feels like an event. He is no longer just an athlete performing inside a wrestling ring. He is an experience. His dominance, his aura, his ability to control the room simply by being in it sets him apart. Many wrestlers are good, some are great, but very few ever reach a point where they are in a league of their own. Roman Reigns is at that point. What makes his greatness undeniable is the way he commands attention. From the moment his music hits, the energy in the arena shifts. His entrance isn't just a walk to the ring. It is a spectacle. The slow, deliberate pace, the intense expression, the presence that radiates authority, it's all a sign that the audience is witnessing something special. He makes you believe. Whether you love him or hate him, you cannot ignore him. And that is the mark of a true megastar. Championship reigns are often used as a metric to judge greatness. And by that standard, Roman Reigns has surpassed nearly every contemporary. His time at the top has redefined dominance in WWE. This isn't just about numbers or days holding a title. It is about the way he has made every defense feel monumental. Every opponent he faces isn't just stepping into a title match. They are stepping into the biggest fight of their career. There is a weight to his matches that few can replicate. When Roman Reigns wrestles, it isn't just a bout. It is a battle with layers of storytelling, intensity, and emotion. He dictates the pace, the moments, the shifts in control. He doesn't just fight, he imposes his will. His presence alone elevates every challenger, making them look like warriors simply for sharing the ring with him. He has mastered the art of making every match, every feud, every rivalry feel larger than life. The evolution of his character has been one of the most compelling arcs in modern wrestling history. There was a time when WWE tried to mold him into the perfect hero, the next John Cena. But that wasn't his true calling. True greatness doesn't come from being what the audience expects. It comes from being undeniable. And that's what Roman Reigns became. His transformation into the tribal chief wasn't just a character change. It was the unlocking of his true potential. He stepped into his most authentic self, dominant, commanding, and ruthless, yet calculated and methodical. The psychology of his persona is another reason why he stands above the rest. His promos are delivered with such conviction that they blur the lines between reality and storytelling. When he speaks, there is no wasted breath, no forced lines, just raw intensity that makes every word land with impact. He doesn't need to raise his voice to make himself heard. The quiet moments, the measured tone, the calculated delivery, these are the tools of someone who knows they are at the top and has nothing left to prove. What makes his dominance even more remarkable is the way he has elevated those around him. True greatness isn't just about personal accolades. It is about making the entire product better. Roman Reigns has done that in ways few before him have. The Bloodline saga has been one of the most engrossing stories in WWE history, not just because of Roman himself, but because of the way he has allowed others to shine in his presence. He isn't just a solo act. He is the foundation upon which an entire era of storytelling has been built. Even in an industry where fans are always looking for the next big thing, where attention spans are short and legacies can be fleeting, Roman Reigns has remained the constant. Others have come and gone, some have had their moments, but none have maintained the level of relevance, dominance, and sheer importance that he has. He doesn't just hold a championship, he defines what it means to be a champion. The numbers, the accolades, the main events, all of it tells one part of the story, but the true measure of his greatness is in the impact he's had on WWE as a whole. He has changed the perception of what a dominant champion looks like in modern wrestling. He has redefined how long-term storytelling can work in an era where instant gratification is often prioritized. He has turned every moment of his career into something significant, something meaningful. Looking back, it's almost fascinating how much the perception of one man changed over the years. The boos that once defined his career are now chants of acknowledgement. The resentment that clouded his rise has been replaced by respect. And while the journey was long and at times brutal, it proved one thing: no superstar is beyond redemption if given the right story to tell. Roman Reigns was never truly hated. Fans simply hated the way he was presented. Now, as he stands at the top of the industry on his own terms, it's clear that all those years of resistance only made his eventual rise even greater.